afternoon, everyone. Want to thank you for joining in. And our guest today is Markpain, and I will read the bio here for him. Uh, Artists like to talk about the grind, getting to the top, working nonstop. It's a common rap theme, a blue collar, ambitious tone, one of the more encouraging, consistent messages in hip hop. No one embodies that message more than Mark Payne. Known hip hop pioneer and Gold Award RIAA recipient, Mark has been paving his own way independently on major music platforms worldwide. With an extensive music catalog and recognizable clients he has written and produced, Mark has sure to give the world something consistently exclusive and different. His topic for today is creativity and being marketable. Go ahead, Mark, you've got it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. That was a great introduction. To start off, of course, we have the ability to be creative. It's the first thing. As children, we're born to be creative. We start off in grade school and, kindergarten. We learn how to color and we learn how to be imaginative. We are imaginative beings that can become extensively creative. And sometimes it takes a while for us to understand how creative that we can be from learning from someone else that's creative. I learned at an early age about my creativity. I was 8 years old. I went to the Virgin Islands with my grandmother, and there was a time period and frame where there were no jobs there. And the only way to survive was through being creative. I had an uncle who used to play the bongos, so we used to go down to the town and we play his bongos, and I would play a cowbell. And little did I know that was my introduction to learning how to play music and being creative with being a musician or as a musician. A lot of us come into music in different ways and different forms and fashions, and learn how to be creative differently, maybe by watching a family member or watching your parents, play the guitar, and you might listen to a record, and that record is so interesting that you're like, wow, I wonder what it's like to play that sound or that instrument. So as children, coming into our creative being, we learn differently in different ways of how to be creative. It's always been very intriguing and interesting to watch an individual, even at a young age, play a guitar, play drums, play a bass, you know what I mean? Play pianos, to show you how we can become creative at an early age quickly. We're like sponges. Me, myself, personally, was like a sponge when I was younger. Anybody can show me something, I learn it right away. When I became more interested in music as a producer and artist, I always craved this. I want more, I want more, I want more. I didn't like to read. I was more of a hands-on individual. So you put something in front of me, I wouldn't read directions. I just rip it open and I want to get to it right away. It could have been a downfall in my life, in my creative life, but also it taught me how to be spontaneous and proactive on the spot, to where I could walk into any studio, turn on the equipment, and become very creative at a snap of a finger, because I knew what I was putting my hands on. Not many of us can do that. A lot of us are technical beings where we actually read, or we like to read about what we're using or what we're getting ourselves into, the technicalities of how to use MIDI, how to link things together, how to make the computer work with the equipment. Things like that are kind of plague us because we want to be, I would say, accurate in everything that we're doing. We don't want to miss. I was a person that didn't care if I missed. I didn't care if I had MIDI or not. I would do things naturally. I would always do things out of the normal as a creative person. I think as creators, we should always feel, or we should try to adapt this. We never have to always be so technical when it comes to music. I think that a lot of technicalities within myself as well caused me to fail in a lot of ways of being creative. I learned how to be more of a natural creator than following the computers and the computer trends, you know, and it has to be done on the computer. So I try to keep my natural ability of being creative in mind while I'm creating on a computer. So I never feel like I'm being so mechanical creatively. And that's the key. That's the trick to a lot of what's going on, because we've conformed to everything being done on a computer, recording on a computer. The sounds have changed. It's now digital. It's not analog anymore. We can try to pretend that it's analog. We can try to make it sound analog, but there's no way you're gonna, only unless you have the exact equipment from when you have the reel of reels, or you have your reels that you're still recording on the reels and you still have that sound. You know what I mean? That's the only way to keep that fat richness, that analog sound. But because we're so technical and digital now, it doesn't spark our ear as much as it used to when we had analog, which can take away your creativities, your creative edge of doing things. You know what I mean? It's not like how it used to be. I don't care what nobody, it just has to be this way. No. We move along with times, we move along with what's going on, but we never forget our natural abilities to be creative. We never forget the natural way of playing a guitar, a bass line, a piano, a conga drum, a cowbell. You know what I mean? So let's not forget, because of technology and AI and things that get in our way that make us feel like we can't do it anymore, let's not let that get in the way, because we still are creative beings. We're made that way. The marketing side of it, I've noticed that a lot of individuals in today's music don't market themselves in a way where, my music career probably started in the early 90s, late 90s. I was around a marketing genius who never went to school for marketing. And I watched him as he actually made a group of four individuals who had no direction. They can sing, but they had no direction. I literally watched him take them to the next level of breaking Elvis Presley's record on radio. And that was through simplicity or simple marketing. We are visual individuals. We are visual. It's just like walking into a Walmart, right? You walk into Walmart, you might see something that in your mind, you're thinking, I'm going into the fruits and vegetables section to buy fruits and vegetables, but you might see something as you're walking into Walmart that might trigger you. You may not need it, but as you're looking at it, when you walk into Walmart, you say, you know what? That looks real interesting. Maybe I can go into the pharmacies to see exactly what that product is, even though I don't need it. but the way it's presented when you walk into Walmart, it makes you think that you need it. So at the end of your shopping experience, you never forget that you wanted to go visit that section at Walmart. Maybe it'd be at the other end of Walmart or the lawn and garden or in the pharmacy area, because that specific thing was so etched in your mind when you walked into Walmart. It made you say, I got an extra 10 minutes to go into that section to go see what it's all about. When I watched Michael Bivins of New Edition work with Boys to Men, it was specific and almost similar to that. I have what you need. I know there's a whole field of other things out here that you guys want and need, but I have something extra that I think you guys would want. And what I did was I put 4 African Americans and made them preppy. I didn't make them like Jodeci. I didn't make them like Heavy D and the Boys. I didn't make them look like what everybody else expected them to look like. You know what I mean? I made them look like the 4 college students that were the hungry individuals in college, and you know, they were just a quartet, a college quartet that were looking for the opportunity to become successful. So how can I put that whole thing together to make people say, I want that? Easy. Put them in preppy gear. Put them in polka dot shirts. Put them in shorts and ties, right? To take away the discrimination of what these individuals or what people perceive them to be or what they thought they should look like, which gave them the power to say, we're not going to cater to what anybody else thinks or what they believe or what they think we should be like. We're going to have control over our image and how people perceive us through an image, through sound and music. A lot of individuals these days don't practice that. There was a time when we used gimmicks as a marketing scheme. Humpty, God rest his soul, Shock G, used a big nose, something that every Halloween, you see everybody wearing a big nose, and you know what I mean? He used a big nose with glasses and big eyebrows and called himself Humpty, right? Perfect marketing scheme. No one would ever think that this individual would come on stage with a big hat on and a big pair of glasses with a nose on and call himself Humpty and make millions of dollars from doing it. So if you notice in today's music, a lot of people have gotten away from the gimmicky part of music, and now they just want to be themselves. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to be yourself, have a way to where people can look at you and say, I like that. I don't need it, but I like that. I like how they present themselves. I like how his gimmick matches, or his presentation matches his music. A lot of artists these days, their presentation doesn't match their music at all, whatsoever, right? And I don't mean to be rude and brutal about it, but I have to be real about it. You have some individuals where you know that perception is everything. When somebody looks at an individual on stage, in their mindset, when they hear a certain sound or music or a vibe, they automatically attach the way the person looks and how they should look to that sound. Most of the times, you go to their concert and the person comes on stage with a raggedy t-shirt on, their pants is hanging off, right? It's a great song, but their presentation doesn't match what they're singing, or the sound of the music, or the color of the music. And it's like, really? And they lose these opportunities to where they can grow and become more of a, hey, I need to have this person on my stage performing, to where, he was okay, he was cool. The music was nice, but he didn't represent his sound. And I think a lot of us have strayed away from representing what our sounds sound like. It doesn't have to be specific to, I'll give you an example. Elvis Presley, right? He played rock and roll, he played blues, and he figured, okay, well, if I came on stage with a jumpsuit on, right, and had the big shades on and the big collar, it would represent rock and roll or blues or whatever his music genre was. And it made people attract to him and say, I like that. Elvis could play anything on stage, but because he had the people's perception of him matched his music and his sound, it made more people want to go see him. Michael Jackson, the same thing. Michael Jackson could sing any song in the world, but he always fit the image of any song that he wrote. He never stepped outside of the short pants, the penny loafers, the glittering socks, right? And the jackets, and the specifics that where people can recognize him as, okay, this guy is the king of pop. This is Michael Jackson. We could identify with him because that's his sound and that's his image. A lot of us have all these different sounds. We want to be creative, but our sounds don't match our image. It doesn't match the image of what it can be when you're performing a song specifically to what you're talking about. I just wrote a song called Yes, I Do. My image isn't a hard edge individual. I'm not a hardcore rapper. So I cannot project hardcore rap onto my audience. I have to write the music that fits the way I look. So when the music is presented and people see it, even though they don't want it, they could identify with it and say, I know I don't want to hear that, but because he presented it in such a way, I would like to hear what he has to say about it. Not only that, marketing also pertains to what you say out of your mouth and how you say it. A lot of individuals are using trending words that don't even fit their image. And then when the words come across in a certain way because they're trying to be trendy about it, and then they get slammed on the internet, it's like, how come and why? Everybody else is using these words, but because it doesn't fit your image and your sound, it doesn't mean that you have to use those words. And it's taking away from a lot of individuals' marketing strategy and why people want and don't want that situation, or they don't want to go visit that part of Walmart anymore. It's in your face. You know it could be something interesting. But when you went to when you saw the sign, when you first walked in, it looked real pretty. But when you got to the pharmacy section, it looked nothing like what you saw when you first walked into Walmart. So now you're upset and you're mad because it doesn't coincide with what you saw when you first walked into Walmart. That's the whole trick to this marketing thing. I told somebody, I can take a doll that nobody plays with, tie a bell to it, and hit it with a stick and make people like it. What do you mean? No one's paying attention to these dolls. They're not paying attention to anything that they think that they don't want. But if you add something specific to it and give it an edge, more people will pay attention to it. I'm sorry if I've confused you on what I just said. I'm not trying to be confusing. But that's what this whole thing is about. Music is about presentation. It's how you present yourself. It's what you say to your audience. It's how your audience perceives you. And remember, when you're creating music, you're not creating music for your audience. Why do I say this? Because you do not want your fans to control how you feel about music. Ever. I had a buddy who I asked about that. This is a part of being creative as well. I said, do you think you control your music? He said, yeah, I control everything. I said, so when you put your music online, how do you know what's appealing and what's not appealing? He says, oh, well, my fans tell me that that's what they want to hear, and they tell me that's what they want to hear. I said, so let me ask you again. Do you really have control over your music? And he says, well, if you put it that way, I don't have any control. I said, that's the point. The point is, you're not supposed to make music to make the fans like your music or to follow those trends of where you think people might like this music. You follow what you believe is true to yourself and authentic to yourself and how you feel about music. That way, you have more control over what you're trying to do, the sound in your head, the vision that you have about yourself, how you perceive yourself and how you want to present it and how you want people to see it. And if you don't, then you're going to get caught up in this, okay, well, how come nobody's liking my music? How come no one is really feeling what I'm trying to say? Or I'm putting out all the music that I think everybody else likes, but nobody's liking my music. But because it's so oversaturated with the same exact things, you'll never be a part of that full circle of individuals that are following a trend or trying to be popular, specifically over a certain sound. So now we have, how do you market yourself compared to control over your music, compared to your creativity and how you create your music, to how do you project this to the people that listen to your music, to how do you get them to like your music? You don't get people to like your music, you get people to like you first. You get people to like who you are authentically first. And then once you get people to like who you are authentically, then you work on your image, on how you project yourself as an artist and what the people have fallen in love with. I am, as I stated, not a hardcore rapper. I am a subtle rapper. I talk about a lot of femininity and a lot of female things. So I'm not going to project myself as a hardcore rapper by putting on a white t-shirt with jeans hanging off, you know what I mean? And a lot of jewelry. I'm not going to project myself as that person. I'm going to wear a shirt and tie, maybe a silk shirt, nice pair of slacks, you know what I mean? And when I talk and say something about what I'm talking about, people can project to it and say, oh yeah, I get it. He's talking about a female and he's talking about he's in love and stuff like that. Because individuals are visual. We're all visual. So when we magnify this perception of how a person looks and how they entertain on stage and how they act in public and specifics like that. You don't have to be the artist. You know how they say some people can have a gimmick and then they can have their real self, but their real self is nothing like their gimmick, like Prince. Like, Prince, God rest his soul, wasn't the real Prince that you perceived on stage. He was a whole nother person in real life because he knew how to project and market the Prince image. What Prince would do on stage, what Prince would say to his fans, how Prince would play his music. When I'm on stage and other people are looking at me from the audience or paying attention to me, how am I coming across to the individuals as if though, yeah, exactly, as if though I was in the audience looking at Prince perform. These are all things that people miss. All they think is, I did a song, how you like my record? I think it's a great record. People are gonna like it. People aren't gonna like it. How come they don't like it? Why they don't like it? I think I should give up. I think I shouldn't make music anymore. This all works against you as an authentic individual. When you learn how to be authentic to yourself, to your real self, and learn that it's your presentation, how you present it, how you serve it, how people see it, what you say out your mouth, how you act in public, is what people perceive first. If you are not any of that, then they're going to consider you as you're fake. You're just pretending to be this person. We don't need it. I saw the sign when I first walked into Walmart. I seen it, but I'm not interested. You want to know why? Because I went over there before. It wasn't nothing like what I saw in that section. So you guys can take the sign down because I don't want to have nothing to do with that. And I'm just going to go ahead and go get my fruit and go home. Once we learn how to coincide with the advertisement, how do you advertise yourself? You are your brand. If you don't know how to brand yourself, learn from an individual person that knows how to brand themselves. You have all of these marketing individuals out here, these marketing companies and agencies that's telling you, oh, let us market you and let us market. Marketing is just branding. That's all it is. If you know how to brand yourself, if you know how to run a business, then branding yourself shouldn't be hard at all. It's like running a business. If you want people to come in and buy from you, then you have to learn that branding is like marketing. Marketing is branding. Know how to communicate with individuals. Know how to send emails. Don't just randomly send emails. Oh, I see this individual person. How do I contact him? Hey, buddy, hey, bro, how you doing? That's not marketing. Electronic press kits. How many of us are actually using electronic press kits? When we send information out to other individuals and saying, hey, this is my resume. This is what I've done. This is what I'm doing now. This is how I am presenting my work. I'd like to be a part of your establishment. Why could I be a part of your establishment? Because look at my EPK. Look at my electronic press kit. Look at the world of information that I could bring to you as a producer, as an artist. What's an EPK? If you are an artist, if you're a musician, we all should know what an EPK is. That should be one of the first things that any artist should know about when they want to be an artist, is an electronic press kit. Your website, that's another part of marketing. How are you presenting yourself and your content with no website? Oh, I have, this other website, they have it, I built my website off another, I forget the name of it. This ASCAP has it where you can get like a discount on 6 months of building your website or whatever. But it's not your space. You don't own it. That company can fold and say, we're selling off our property. And because you don't have your own property, someone cuts that company a check, you get none of it, they sell it off, and that's the end of your space online, your website, or your little space that you have online. Now you have to start all over again. How many of us have .coms or .nets or .orgs? Right? How many of us know about NFTs or how to present your music through an NFT? How to market your information through an NFT? How to get people to buy into your stock of music? How do you do that? Right? We're so worried about the music aspects, and sometimes it can be overwhelming because you're so creative that you don't understand the business of it. And so, because the business is 95% of it, you get overwhelmed by it and you're like, well, I just want to be creative. Not realizing that it's a whole world of business behind everything that you're doing. Because when you're dealing with individuals, you're not dealing with music, you're dealing with business directly with these individuals. And even when you're dealing in business with these individuals, you're also marketing yourself. Because they can make a decision and say, I don't like you. I didn't like the email that you sent. I don't think that you're great for our company. I don't think that we should partner with you. I'll give you another example. I also do magazines on the side as a freelancing thing. It's called 50 Producers. The magazine is based off of producers on the rise in the music industry. I went directly to Flipboard, another big company that actually, they compete with Google. And I structured my email very nicely. And I said, because I have done this work with these individuals, I'm also on Google. I have a Google profile. I have this on Google. I have that. And I have this. And I structured it very nicely. And I said, to protect my image and property, I would like to be authenticated on Flipboard. Not only did they authenticate me on Flipboard, they asked me, do you have any other accounts that we can authenticate? And then said, we'd like to partner with you. If there's anything else that we can do to help you, always reach out to our leaderboardship or, leadership, and we'd be more than happy to assist you. Part of you branding and marketing is never burning a bridge. You don't burn bridges with individuals. Your brand is to never burn a bridge with anybody in business. I don't care if it's your phone bill. Your business is not to destroy relationships with anything that can help you in your business. Your business is to interact, be nice, as professional as you can. Try to get to the levels of where people trust you. Don't cross them out because they'll know when you're trying to cross them. And then they'll see that you're an authentic individual and they'll reach their hands out and they'll say, we want to help you. We think that what you're doing is essential to our growth in what we're trying to do as a business. What did I do in that situation? I stayed consistent. I stayed consistent as a brand because I never stopped being the Markpain, the producer. I market myself because I never stopped saying, oh, my image should be this and it should be that, even though it didn't coincide with my brand. I always stayed on my course, on my marketing course and my brand, to the point of now where I'm getting invites from big platforms. I got an invite from, Facebook as a creator, as a meta creator. I'm a part of that. I've been a part of that for 2 years now. And then monetizing situations, how they monitor you, how they watch you online, the things that you put out. Is he authentic? The more authentic you are, the more they reach out to you and say, hey, listen, we have another opportunity for you. That's a part of branding. Because that's the first thing that they see. When they walk into Walmart, that's what they see. That was a very interesting end cap. Even though I'm not going to the pharmacy, you guys get what I'm doing, right? Even though I'm not going to the pharmacy area, that was a great end cap. I don't need it, but because it looks like a great product, I'm going to go visit the pharmacy section to see what it's all about, right? And it's up to Walmart to present it in that area the same exact way that you see when you walk into the building. If it's not presented that way, we got this thing called reviews online, right? And people say, I went there in that section and it was stuff all over the place. It was nothing like what I thought. And all it takes is one strike against you. One bad comment, one. And it can generate through Google and mess up your brand. One. There are companies out here that spend millions of dollars on branding and marketing, right? They get one bad review. You should see what they do to break their necks to get that one bad review off of their profile. They go crazy. What can we do to assist you? We're so sorry. Oh my God. Because their brand is important to them. How they market, the money they spend on their products is important to them. But if we don't take advantage of what we see, how these other big companies take advantage of marketing and branding, and we just think, oh, this is just the way it should be, and you become arrogant, and then you start burning your bridges, you can't blame no one else but yourself. And why you haven't gotten to where you want to get to. So let's look at, yes, we all want to be creative individuals. That's how we were born. We from the time we can remember, we were creatives. But now that we're adults now, how do we become a brand and a marketable brand to where individuals like us and don't want to bypass us every time we walk into the Walmart store?
Well, thank you very much, Mark. That was absolutely great. I'm going to start things off with a question. I know for a fact, well, we have lots of people in Songsalive in general, and I think several people in this room right now who don't think of themselves as performers. They're primarily writers, so they're not going to be out there on stage with the interesting clothes and the big nose and the image and all that stuff. They're just their audience is different. They're trying to sell to those people.
Right.
Is there anything different about branding yourself that way for that purpose?
Yes. Professionalism. Your business. When you present yourself to someone that you think can potentially sing your song, it's how you present yourself to that corporation, how you format your emails, your resume. Never forget your resume, because people are going to look at what you've done first. It's like applying for a job. If you don't have a resume, try to build a resume to the extent of where, when they see your resume, they go, wow, that's impressive. But you have to be professional about everything that you put in that email. Even if you haven't gotten to that level yet, learn ways to be very professional, prompt, and communicate well. If they say no, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with no. No just gives you another opportunity for another yes. That's all it does. Right? So when I write, like when I came to Songsalive, right? Hey, I like to talk, I like to get, see, I presented myself, same thing. I presented myself in a specific way to where I wasn't rude or nasty, or, you know what I mean? I was just, hey, you know, I'd like to talk. I think I'd like to bring my experiences to you. It was either yes or no situation. So when you're presenting music to other artists, they have timelines. They're just as nervous, you know, they're anxious, and their writing stats and teams and stuff like that are sometimes desperate, looking for the right writers. So if you can kind of ease the situation to make them feel comfortable when you send them information, hey, listen, I understand it's, you know, it's just time consuming. I know you guys are working on the album right now. I know you probably got a real good writing staff, a writing team, you know, but I just like to, you know, present some information to you so you can at least hear me. I understand if you guys don't want it. I get it, you know, you see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with it, right? It's how you present, you format yourself to where you brand your business. This is your business. You brand yourself as a professional individual person presenting music and ideas at all times. And if they say no, don't get mad. Oh man, you know what I mean? Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I think you guys are awesome. It really means a lot for you guys to even give me a response back. I wish the best for you guys, and I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day and may the artists have an awesome career. What's going to happen? They're going to remember that for the rest of every time, oh, you know, that guy sent us an email. You know what, let's you see what I'm saying? Like it makes them want to go look for you, because maybe it wasn't the right time at that time, but because you were nice about it and cordial and you branded yourself as a professional, they're going to say, you know what? God was a nice guy. Let me listen to his stuff. Does that answer it?
That absolutely does. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you were talking about electronic press kits.
Mhm.
And the good thing about them and the bad thing about them are you don't have to be there to present them.
Right.
And it allows you to spread the information quickly to people. But
Yeah.
what's the cost of taking away face to face?
Nothing. The thing is that when the EPK is a formal introduction. It's just something to say, because you might have a busy individual person, you know what I'm saying? Like he's just busy all the time. And you saw him out in the street somewhere, you know what I mean? And you were like, wow, I'd like to talk to Richard Branson, but he was busy, right? And you say, hey, is there an email or something I could send some information to real quick so you can kind of see that? Now, you've already had the encounter already. You've seen him face to face. Just didn't have time to talk to him, right? And then you go, okay, cool, thanks, I appreciate it. You have a card? Thank you, I appreciate that. I'll send some information to you. Now, whether he sees it or not, you've done your job. You've done your job as an artist to try to make sure he gets the information so we can see it. Now, we know that he has a billion things to do throughout the day, right? And you might be fortunate if somebody says, oh yeah, come on up to the office. Matter of fact, at Planet Hollywood, we're having a special event. Why don't you come up there? And you might be fortunate, right? But if you have the opportunity to say, well, let me at least shoot some information to him, even though he might not see it. Let me at least show him that I'm professional about sending an email with a little something in it about myself. Right? Compared to somebody saying, yeah, you know, Richard, I saw you the other day when we was walking on the planet Hollywood, and you guys told me to send you an email. He's like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? Like, what is this? But if you format it in such a way where it's professional, sometimes, put like this, sometimes they don't even look at the EPK. They're like, forget the EPK. All they look for is warmest regards, blah, 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 your information and links. Because now people are going more off your links more than anything else that they want to read or look at, right? They don't have no time for that. All right, let's see what he's doing online. All right, cool. Oh, it's Facebook. Oh, he's popping on Facebook. You know what I mean? He's popping on Twitter. Wow, this guy's interesting. All before they even looked at your EPK, right? Then they go, well, Instagram doesn't really say that much about him. Let me go back to the email. Let me look at the EPK. Oh, wow, he did work with Cher. He did work with, you know what I mean, Michael Jackson. He did work with Donna. Now they want to call you because now they're looking, because everybody's so, consumed with popularity, right? So now that they see that you're popular online, and then they've seen the email, they're like, okay, oh, he's working with so-and-so, let's go get him. So it can work against you because sometimes they don't read it. You're right. They don't read it. They don't want to look at it. But if you remember to put all the right information in your emails when you're sending information, right, it can lead to them reading your EPK. Even where technology with iPhones, where you can get like the digital cards, where you can put all your information in the digital card and say, hey, you guys got AirDrop? And they'll be like, yeah, okay, let me AirDrop to you. You know what I mean? They go, oh, wow. And sometimes people are intrigued by you knowing technology. They're like, I never knew that. And you see what I'm saying? And then they call this guy because he knows about that. You know what I mean? So it's so many things that you can kind of grab from. But the first thing I look at about it is be professional. Just show that you're professional. You know what I mean? We all don't walk around with letterheads and stocks of cards in our pocket all the time, right? So all we have is emails. So it's like, okay, look, why don't I have like a draft email with an EPK in it? And what's your email? Okay, cool. And most of the time, people are on their devices anyway, right? So you hear the notification, it'll go bing, and you'd be like, oh, he just sent me an email. Wow, that's interesting. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's so many things that you can do, but always provide something about yourself to make them say, I love his resume. I just love the way he's working with so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so. When I first met Mike, right? When I first met Michael Bivens from New Edition, he's the guy did not graduate high school, okay? He quit in the 10th grade. He's not going to read emails or anything that pertaining to paper. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving you the other side of the fence now. It's that you would have to be impressive, or you'd have to say something to him face to face. Let's talk about the face to face now. You have to say something to him face to face to make him go, I like that. That was dope. Just like when Boyz II Men met him after the concert, right? When he was getting on the bus. Hey, we want to sing for you. I'm busy, right? All right, let me hear something real quick. You know what I mean? And they sang for him face to face. No resume, no card, no nothing, no. Their resume was their voices. You know what I mean? And if they suck, he would have told them, I don't want to deal with you, get out of here. But he loved them. And because of that situation, they were able to move on to the next levels of music and become successful. You know what I mean? So it's pertaining to who you're dealing with, how you're dealing with it, the right situations, kind of look at what you're dealing with. You know what I mean? And if you're dealing with a situation where, they're just too busy, all right, listen, you got an email or something I can send information to? And then they'll send like either the bodyguard or the assistant. You know what I mean? Go give them information, get them out of here. Right? Look at the paparazzi. They have nothing. They just got cameras. Hey, take a picture. They don't care. But you know what they're doing? Building a resume. Every time they see somebody in that airport and take a picture, they're building a resume. And at the end of the day, if they say no more paparazzi, but I have all of these pictures of this guy, and that guy, and that guy, and that guy, and this guy, and that guy, all in this little resume. Here's my link. And the story. You know what I mean? Did that help? Or
Absolutely. And I like the fact that you in essence said there's a place for both.
yes, 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 sir. Thank you. I appreciate that question.
Thank you.
Mark, have you written the song yet about playing the cowbell with your uncle?
No, that would be a really nice idea.
I want to hear that song. I know it's in you.
That's really, really nice. I'm thinking about writing a book about my life, and maybe that would be a really great idea for a song
Yeah.
as an introduction to the book. Because I'm thinking about doing an audio book.
Mhm.
So that would be a really great idea to do. You know what I mean? I appreciate that.
I'm gonna follow you now. I'm gonna be looking for it.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate that question too.
You bet.
Yes, sir.
You had talked about not burning a bridge.
Right.
I've got probably, most of my songs are, the usual love songs and yada, yada, yada. But I do have 3 that could be considered political.
Mhm.
I'm curious about people's thoughts on having a second pseudonym that's anonymous
Mhm.
for those types so that you don't ruin your brand.
Right. I understand. Yeah. Let me tell you something. On my Facebook page, right? I have 207,000 people following me on that page. One thing that I make clear to them, right? And something that I steer away from. I tell them, you'll never get a political statement out of me, ever. Ever. And they have been pulling me into it. No, what you don't talk about, you don't talk about, right? Because everybody's panicking and whatever. But once you get into this situation of where it's political, they're gonna always want you to be that person. You understand? And you might, of course, you're gonna have individuals that are opposed to those thoughts and those ideas, right? So even if you would like to have that situation, as that alternate name, and I would stay clear musically, stay clear of it, right? I give you an example. Teddy Riley has stated that he supports a specific party. Okay. I don't know if you guys know who Teddy Riley is, very popular, New Jack Swing, producer from back in the early 90s. And if he experienced something politically, there's no compassion at all. There's no, oh, we're so sorry that you've gone through that. Because he specifically, you see what I'm saying, wanted to say something political about it. Now he can experience something really horrible where people should be compassionate to him, where they're saying, well, that's what you did. You know what I mean? That's what you chose to do. And that could be horrible because he could be in a situation where he really needs somebody to say something nice to him. You see what I'm saying? But because he exposed himself in that way, he put himself in the middle of that arena. Now he has to put the gloves on and he has to fight these individuals that's going, see, we told you. So I would be, if you choose to do that, be very careful with how you word how you're putting your songs together. You know what I mean?
I guess my question also was, is there anyone else who has an anonymous CC?
Well, I was just thinking, there have been political songs throughout the genre and the rap and
Yes.
rock and everything. They do them, but they do them in such a way that it's more like a question, like
Yes.
how many men does it take? You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
and it's not, they're not definitive about it, but they do them.
Yeah,
Right.
mine are that way too. I'm not blurting it out.
But
It's
then look,
blunt with the
when you get a party that grabs your song, like for instance, right? Born in the USA, I said, born, right? And you grab that song and you put it in the middle of a political thing. What happened? The artist was like, take it down. Don't ever play that song again. You know what I mean? Like, don't, come on, stop, man. You know what I mean? Like, he's specifically talking about a political thing. It could be a political thing indirectly, but he's happy to be American. You know what I'm saying? But then when you have someone who is, I don't like to be political, but you know what I mean? Like opposing to a democratical thought. You know what I mean? And he's going, born in the US, and you're staring all these people up, and they're, you know what I mean? It can be unhealthy for your career. But she's right. You know what I'm saying? Like some people they use subliminal wording to kind of get around the politics and how people think. That would be another good way to do it. Like kind of like pose a question. You know what I mean? Like what if situation. And maybe it'll be better that way. That way it'll stand neutral and it wouldn't be on, oh, you're on his side and you're on that side. Why are you on that side and how come you're on that side? You know what I mean?
Just a few months ago, there was that kid from the South that did that song, something about the rich guys. Does anybody remember that
Yeah,
song?
rich guys north of Richmond.
North
Yeah.
of, yeah. And it kind of ruined his career. The only place that
Yeah.
guy is ever welcome in is like these
Yeah, like,
weird, yeah,
wow.
yeah.
You know, so you have to be very strategic in how you're dealing because remember, music is one of the most powerful forms of communication, right? Beside regular having speech with each other, music is like, wow, did you hear what he said in that record? Like, remember when Billie Jean first came out
Mhm.
and everybody was like, who's Billie Jean? Right? He was talking to everybody. Billie Jean's not my right, and it made us curious. So that's how powerful these words are. You know what I'm saying? Like these people literally take it to heart. That's why when they were playing the music today, I didn't stop it. I listened to every word. I listened to the music and the words. You know what I mean? Because it means a lot to each one of you here. You know what I mean? Who am I to say that I don't like that? It's not, no. I am a learner just like you guys are. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter how long I've been in music or how many people I've been around in the business. I still learn every day. So when I hear something different, something creative, it's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? How can I help? How can I assist you to be better at what you're doing? Or how can we be brothers in music? You know what I mean?
Joseph, you've been waiting patiently.
Yes, thank you. Hey, man, great talk, great hype, everything. Appreciate it. I'd like to send you a link to my music site where when you have time, you can hear any of the songs on it and comment to me or whatever. I just appreciate you. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Hey, Mark, I'd like to kind of similar to the thing about politics, but not quite in that vein. Something just about branding. You're talking about in music. I don't care your genre, country, rap, urban, rock and roll, whatever. There have been people over the years that their brand is they're a dick. Okay. Usually very sarcastic. They make fun of people. They're nasty people on stage. They bite the heads off of bats, what have you, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But again, are you in danger of like pigeonholing yourself or, cutting off your opportunities?
Yeah. because when you're like that, it's for a specific crowd. It's like that's the crowd you want. You know what I mean? You don't want no other crowd but that crowd. And when you remember, God rest her soul, man. I mean, it wasn't her fault. She wasn't trying to make that happen. But things happen. You got some people that are just insanely crazy, right? And when you say things that are so sarcastic, you know what I mean? And just mean and cruel, and you walk off a stage, anything can happen to you. You know what I mean? Artists have been killed walking off stages, man, shot in the stomach, and you know what I mean? So
Who was the lady you were talking about, Mark?
it's a singer. I think she was from American Idol. I'm not sure. She was doing a performance. I can try to get her name. If you guys follow me, I'll send you the information. But she was a young girl coming off the stage, but this guy was very obsessed with her. And she walked off the stage, and he tried to grab her hand and shake her hand, and she walked by him. And then as she walked by, he pulled out a gun and shot her in the stomach and killed her. She was with her brother. I forget the name of the artist. It happened a couple years ago.
Yeah, I remember it.
From The Voice?
Yeah, from The Voice.
American Idol, I thought it was. No,
An American
it
Idol
wasn't
or The Voice, either one.
Yeah.
He's very obsessive. You know what I mean? And he's like, because she didn't say nothing to him, he shot her in the stomach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but there are people, imagine you're a crazy person. You're a crazy person and you just riling people up, right? And then you come off stage and you act like that towards them. You know what I mean? And they're already crazy and they're thinking the way you're thinking, and you give them the cold shoulder, what's going to happen?
Now, just to mention it, I have heard of kind of the opposite, where people are like that on stage, and then the music ends, the lights go down, you meet them off stage, and they're like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" That's
Yeah,
just,
you
you know, what their stage thing, their brand is
Yeah.
completely a creation.
Yeah. Remember what I said about Prince?
Uh-huh.
So Prince knew how to be Prince off stage, but then once he got on stage, he was Prince. You know what I mean? So that's how people are when it comes to, most of the times it's the record label telling them that. Listen, that song you did was so crazy. That's your image. You know what I mean? But you could be a real nice guy in person. You know what I mean? But people will perceive you as being, oh, he's crazy. You know what I mean? You could be scared as hell coming off the stage. You see somebody coming at you, you're like, wait a minute, I'm not that person. You know? And they don't know that because they're not having that conversation between you and the label. You know what I mean? They just know what we see on stage is what we perceive. Remember the group Onyx from back in the day? Rap group?
Yeah.
Slam! Ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da, let the boys be boys. Slam! Remember that song, that rap song? They used to go to clubs, slam clubs. Specifically go to slam clubs, right? Just to perform that song and watch people throw each other around. But when they got off stage, they had bodyguards. You know what I mean? Because they wasn't slam you, let's get on stage and get slammed around. They wasn't, you know what I mean? It was just a song to rile people up, to get them to slam each other around the place. It was a good marketing, you know what I'm saying? Song for people to market it. And then not only that, Onyx had the big, you know, the mad face with the big, you know what I mean, with the blood. So it coincided with how they would market themselves as three bald-headed rappers that was disgruntled. You know what I mean? But when they came off stage, they wasn't nothing like that. And don't you know that one of the members now, he played in Moesha, I forget his name, not Sticky Fingers, the other one, Fred Joe Starr. Because he perceived himself to be this hardcore rapper, now when people walk up on him, they think he's this hardcore rapper. He's not. He's a very nice guy. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's essential that if you're in a record situation or the company saying, we want you to market yourself this way. It's this thing called, let me talk to my lawyer real quick. You know what I mean? I need to talk to my lawyer for real, because I'm not sure if I want to be that person on stage. You know, let's renegotiate that, you know?
I'm thinking, you got me thinking about Insane Clown Posse, because they're like a real niche market, but their relationship with their audience is incredible.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. But you might always get that one person out the crowd, right? That one person that's just like, well, you guys are like that on stage, right? And that's the end of it. Here comes the bodyguards, they all scrambling.
Yeah, I'm just gonna expound on the comment I made in the comments about, you run the risk of losing half your audience when you get into whether it be politics, religion, whatever. And, I've always, back to great comments about professionalism and such, I did workshops for years and led them, and I always try to bring out the point: don't try to make this like any other business. If you ran a paint store, you ran a hardware store, you ran a clothing store, these folks can't get controversial. You gotta cater to all your customers.
Yes.
on
Yes. Yes.
on all sides, all
Yes.
sides, all,
Yes.
every
Yes.
sector of life, and so
Yeah.
that behooves us to stay off of those areas, and
Right.
yep.
You know, when you
that's it.
visit other countries, like when you go to when you're we're American-based, we're American-based artists, right? And then we go to another country in Europe, right? Australia, places like that. And we see people singing our songs. We're like, what? You know what I mean? It's because they are listening in too. You know what I mean? They have their specifics that they deal with as well too. You know what I'm saying? Okay, who was a really great artist that I think that could pull it off like that was Bob Marley.
What I love is I buy a lot of music software, and I love the 4th of July sales from Great Britain.
Right. You know what I mean? They're listening, the world is listening. You know what I mean? Come on. Let me tell you one thing I learned from Mike Bivens. He said, when I first met him, I was so New York, right? I used to think every lyric that I write is just for Brooklyn, nothing else but Brooklyn, right? And I wrote songs that had Brooklyn in it, Brooklyn. And when I met him, you know what he said to me? He said, you have to learn that you're not writing for Brooklyn anymore. You're writing for the world. And I was like, wow, it took me back. It was hard to kind of absorb it because I was so used to writing a certain way. You know what I mean? But he was like, remember, this is commercialism. We're commercial. You know what I mean? We have to write for everybody. And I think that's what broke me out of the shell of, yeah, you're right. Because what if I write that? And what if I say this? And what if I say that? And you know what I mean? And so we would stick to topics where it wouldn't be so controversial, or you know what I mean? Where people would talk about it so much, They just liked it, Poison.
With that too, not just the audience, but in the case of writers, let's say you've come online with some kind of position, and the very publisher, the very artist, the very record person you talk to is on the opposing side.
Right.
You've immediately ticked them off because they say, I can't deal with you,
Right.
So it affects all aspects of the business when you get controversial.
Yes, that's true. Very. I'll explain to you real quick. I grew up in rap first history. I was 13 years old. I was living in the Bronx, South Bronx, New York City. And I lived off Eagle Avenue, which is one of the most craziest places you can ever want to be at. It looked like Saigon. That's how bad it was. Okay? And their rappers wasn't, there were street gangs, but what they were trying to do was they were trying to stray away from gang activity. They were trying to find some type of form of rap or activity that would calm down gang violence. And when we used to have these block parties every Friday night at the park, and they would wire up their equipments to the light poles and stuff like that. And the DJs would come out, and they, you know, the MCs would come out, and it was a big party. It felt like a big block party. It wasn't, you'd never see anything gang related. But the ones that were gang related, like for instance, Zulu Nation, right? African Bambaataa was pretty much kind of like a gang because everybody wanted to be a part of Zulu Nation. They wore the big beads. Whenever they went into the clubs, you seen them with the beads on. Oh, here comes Zulu Nation and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of the individuals that were gang members also wanted to turn their lives into something positive because they wanted to be a part of this hip hop thing that was changing the streets and the environment of the streets when it came to gang activity. When Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five came out with the message, you know, first of all, it was the Sugar Hill Gang with, you know, the disco era, Sugar Hill Gang. Then you had the message from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and that had nothing to do with violence. They were talking about streets, the streets, you know what I'm saying? And what was going on in the streets and the things that they have to go through, and bills collectors ringing my phone, scaring my wife, and I'm not on, you know, they weren't talking about nothing violent. I think the misconception came into the business is when NWA came into the industry, you know what I mean? And then they were talking about their life experiences in Compton, you know, and the things that they were experiencing with the police officers and, you know, government officials in those areas. And then they thought that, you know, because the beats were hip hop, the foundation of the music was the hip hop sound, and, you know, this should be it. And because we're experiencing these bad things in Compton and whatever like that, this should be it. And so when that became a part of mainstream music, then it became acceptable as that gangster rap. Rap is all gangster. And I think that some of the movies that played its part in the midst of that, you know, like Juice, you know what I mean? Different memorable movies that played a big part in the gangster activity in hip hop.
Colors.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of played its way back into the industry to make these rappers think, oh yeah, it's about the Bloods and the Crips, and you know what I'm saying? It had nothing to do with that. A big misconception. And then the business individuals, the ones with the big money, BMG, big money group, you know what I'm saying? Figured that they was going to capitalize off that. Oh, well, how do we keep it going? Let's reintroduce, you know what I mean? This gang activity back into it, because we know that that's what stirs them up. That's what stirs up this culture, drama, you know what I mean? And now that we're not, there's no advocate standing in the middle of it to stop it, it continues and it continues and it continues. And now that the industry doesn't really have a grasp on it like they want to, and everything is so independently distributed, now it's like we do whatever we want to do. We don't care what you say. We can be gangsters all we want to, right? Until it gets to the point of where, okay, now it's becoming a domestic problem. You know what I'm saying? Where it's no longer rap now, it's where the government has to step in and stop this stuff because they're getting just crazy. See what I'm saying? And I think to me, that's the saddest part of hip hop or the rap music right now. You know what I mean? Where there is no advocacy or anyone to intervene and say, hey man, you gotta, that's not what it is. Let me give you the history. And then when you try to give them, the younger individuals and generations, a history of it, what they say, you OG, get out of here. I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? Old school, get out of here. And then, when you try to bridge the gap between the two, it's a tough thing to do. I think my goal to be honest with you, and it's maybe a little bit off topic. My thing is, I would love to be the advocate for that situation to try to get individuals to understand this isn't what rap is. This is not what it's supposed to be or how it's supposed to derive from a culture of individuals that fought so hard to make it. You know what I mean? Or to put it where it's supposed to be at. You know, there is no other genre that does that. You know what I mean? That, you know, rock and roll doesn't do that. Like, you know, jazz, blues, they don't do that. They don't have to worry about an advocate. You know what I mean? We're the only ones that have to step in and say, hey man, what you guys are doing. And then you have individuals that downplay it, you know, because they don't have faith or belief in hip hop anymore. They'll say something like hip hop hasn't had a #1 all year long. So hip hop must be fading out now. There's no longer hip hop, which is inaccurate information. It's just that we don't have a sense of control in how this has to do with marketing too, and how we should market good music anymore. Everything has got to be violence and violent music. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you're right. I should write a book about that. That's another book right there. And that's the blessing of coming from that part of music, is that you get to see and understand what's going wrong with a lot of things that should be better, compared to why it's going so bad and harping on the bad instead of how to make it better and create a better situation.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for everything. Is there ways that people can keep in touch with you after we're done today?
Yes, sir. So you can find me on, if you guys are Instagrammers, you can find me on Instagram at The Real Markpain. On Facebook, you can find me, just type up my name, Markpain. You can find me on Facebook, follow me at that page. On SoundCloud, if you guys are on SoundCloud, look for Markpain on SoundCloud. YouTube is at The Real Markpain. So pretty much everything is, yeah. Thank you, I appreciate that. Or if you want to find me in all over the internet, just go to YouTube and find me on YouTube. All my links are under there. Under my Instagram page, you can find me under my Linktree link, and all of my content is there under there too. So you guys can always find me. I do as much as I can to respond and reply. It can be overwhelming sometimes. So I'll do my best to respond to you guys as much as I can.
You got to let us know when you do the book, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean,
I might need you guys help.
It's going to take you a long time to do. It's going to take you a while to write that. You got a lot of material to work off of, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I'm sure you'd get a lot of readers from that. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.